Hollywood is shaking again. And this time, the names are bigger, the accusations are darker, and the silence is louder than ever. Teyana Taylor just snapped back publicly, and Jaguar Wright is once again pulling the curtain back on what she claims is happening behind closed doors in the industry. But here's the part that has everyone talking. Why do these explosive allegations keep resurfacing? And why does nothing ever seem to change? Social media is divided. Some say Jaguar is exposing uncomfortable truths. Others say it's just another wave of chaos designed to go viral. Meanwhile, Teyana isn't staying quiet, and her reaction might be the most telling piece of the story. If even half of what's being suggested is real, it could rewrite how we see the music industry forever. But if it's not, then something else is happening entirely. Either way, this situation just escalated, and the fallout could be bigger than anyone expected. To understand why this situation exploded so fast, you have to understand the two women at the center of it. Teyana Taylor is not a newcomer to the industry. She's been in the spotlight since she was a teenager, singer, dancer, actress, creative director, fashion force. Over the years, she built a reputation as someone deeply respected for her artistry and work ethic. Even when her label relationships were rocky, she rarely aired grievances publicly. Her brand has always leaned toward discipline, control, and privacy. Jaguar Wright, on the other hand, has built a completely different public persona. Over the last few years, Jaguar has gone viral multiple times for making explosive claims about the music industry. She has accused major figures of corruption, exploitation, manipulation, and dark behind-the-scenes behavior. Some people see her as a whistleblower. Others see her as unpredictable. Either way, when Jaguar speaks, the internet listens. And that's where the collision happened. Jaguar recently made statements that many interpreted as targeting Teyana Taylor, implying that certain industry relationships and inner circles are not what they appear to be. She didn't just criticize the system. She hinted at specific dynamics involving artists and power structures. The internet did what it always does. Clips spread, reactions multiplied, comment sections filled instantly. Then came Teyana's response, and that's when things escalated from background noise to headline drama. Because Teyana didn't ignore it, she reacted. And once a normally composed public figure responds emotionally, people start asking a different question. Is this just internet chaos? Or did something hit a nerve? That's the tension driving this story. Not verified proof, not court documents, not investigations, allegations, reactions, and the space between them. And that space is where speculation grows fastest. The moment Jaguar Wright's comments began circulating, the narrative split in two directions almost instantly. On one side were viewers who believe Jaguar has been trying to expose uncomfortable truths about the music industry for years. They point to past interviews where she accused major figures of manipulation, coercion, and exploitation behind the scenes. To them, this wasn't random chaos. It was a continuation of a long pattern of calling out power structures. On the other side were critics who argue that Jaguar's style is built on shock value. They believe her statements often rely on implication rather than evidence, and that her viral moments tend to generate more heat than clarity. When Teyana Taylor's name entered that conversation, it changed everything. Because Teyana has maintained a relatively controlled public image. She hasn't been known for scandal-driven headlines. So when Jaguar's statements appeared to connect her to broader industry allegations, it didn't just feel like gossip. It felt like escalation. The conflict deepened when Teyana responded. Her reaction, whether direct or indirect, signaled that she was not willing to let the narrative float unchecked. And in celebrity culture, a response matters. Silence can sometimes diffuse a rumor. A reaction can amplify it. And that reaction became the focal point. Supporters of Teyana argued that responding forcefully was necessary to protect her name. In an era where social media can permanently stain reputations within hours, Pushing back immediately can be seen as self-defense. Supporters of Jaguar interpreted the reaction differently. They suggested that strong emotional pushback might indicate that something sensitive had been touched. But here's the reality. An emotional response does not equal guilt. A viral allegation does not equal proof. Yet perception doesn't always wait for evidence. And this is where the main conflict truly lives. Not in documented legal findings, not in confirmed investigations, but in the power of implication. A Jaguar Wright style often relies on painting a larger picture of industry secrets. She frames her commentary as exposing hidden systems rather than isolated individuals. When names get attached to that kind of narrative, even indirectly, the consequences can be intense. Teyana's camp, understandably, appears focused on protecting her brand and credibility. In today's climate, a single unchallenged rumor can follow an artist for years. So the conflict isn't just personal. It's structural. It's about how allegations move in 2026. It's about how quickly narratives harden. It's about how little evidence is sometimes required for millions of people to form an opinion. And that's why this moment feels bigger than a back and forth. Because once Hollywood secrets enter the headline, people lean in, not because they have proof, but because they suspect there's always more happening behind the scenes than the public sees. That suspicion fuels the fire. And once it starts burning, even denials can struggle to put it out. Within hours of the clips circulating, social media fractured into camps. Fan pages began dissecting every word Jaguar Wright said. Old interviews were resurfaced. Past statements were re-edited and reposted with new captions. Reaction channels jumped in. Commentators began asking whether this was another example of someone trying to expose the industry, or just another cycle of viral chaos. At the same time, Teyana Taylor's supporters mobilized hard. They argued that attaching her name to vague, explosive language about hidden secrets was reckless. They pointed out that in the digital age, even unproven claims can damage endorsements, our partnerships, and long-term brand reputation. For them, this wasn't drama. It was reputation protection. And then came the amplification effect. When a story trends, algorithms reward intensity. The more emotional the commentary, the faster it spreads. Clips were edited for maximum drama. Headlines became more aggressive. Words like exposed, explodes, and dark secrets dominated thumbnails. But here's what made this escalation different. There were no documents, no court filings, no named victims, no official investigations, just allegations and interpretation. Yet the reaction felt massive. This reveals something deeper about modern celebrity culture. The court of public opinion doesn't require evidence to begin deliberation. It requires attention, and Jaguar Wright understands attention. Her previous viral interviews have shown that she often frames herself as someone revealing what others are too afraid to say. That positioning gives her supporters a reason to believe she's being silenced or dismissed unfairly. At the same time, critics argue that without verifiable backing, bold accusations risk becoming reputational landmines. Teyana's reaction added fuel. When a public figure responds emotionally, whether through direct statements, live sessions, or indirect posts, it confirms that the narrative reached them. That alone intensifies the story. But here's the key tension. Reacting can protect your name. Reacting can also extend the lifespan of the controversy. It's a strategic dilemma many celebrities face in the digital era. Ignore it and risk letting speculation grow. Address it and risk amplifying it. Meanwhile, with the broader industry remained quiet. No major outlets escalated the story into investigative reporting. No labels issued public commentary. No corporate partners distanced themselves. That silence can mean two very different things. It can mean there's nothing concrete behind the noise, or it can mean institutions avoid legitimizing unverified claims. And this is where the escalation becomes psychological rather than factual. People don't just consume the story, they interpret the silence. Some see silence as proof that nothing substantial exists. Others see silence as evidence of protection. Without hard evidence either way, the narrative floats in ambiguity. And ambiguity is powerful. Because once people begin believing there are hidden layers, even the absence of proof feels suspicious. This is how modern controversies evolve. Not through confirmed findings, not through legal developments, but through perception loops. And right now, the perception loop is what's keeping this story alive. The immediate reaction was loud. The long-term impact is quieter, but more important. For Teyana Taylor, the fallout isn't about a legal battle or formal accusation. It's about narrative association. In today's climate, even being mentioned in the same breath as Hollywood secrets can create lingering questions. Brands don't just evaluate truth, they evaluate risk. And risk is often tied to perception, not proof. Her fans responded aggressively in defense. Many framed Jaguar Wright's statements as irresponsible and harmful. They argued that throwing out names without evidence contributes to a culture where reputation becomes collateral damage. For them, protecting Teyana meant rejecting the entire premise of the allegations outright. On the other side, Jaguar Wright's supporters doubled down. They view her as someone who has consistently challenged industry power structures. To them, backlash against her only reinforces the idea that powerful systems silence uncomfortable voices. This creates a loyalty divide, not based on evidence, not based on documentation, but based on trust. Trust in Teyana's brand and character. Trust in Jaguar's history of speaking out. Trust in how Hollywood operates behind closed doors. And that's where the fallout becomes bigger than either woman. The phrase Hollywood secrets carries weight. It taps into years of confirmed scandals involving abuse of power, exploitation, and hidden misconduct within the entertainment industry. Because those real cases exist, audiences are primed to believe that more could exist too. That doesn't mean every allegation is true, but it means the environment is fertile for suspicion. The industry's silence adds to that tension. When no major investigation follows and no formal statement escalates the issue, audiences fill the gap with interpretation. Some see it as confirmation that nothing serious exists. Others see it as quiet protection. The most significant fallout isn't cancellation. It's erosion of clarity. Once narratives about hidden systems attach to a public figure, even loosely, they can resurface later. Future interviews may reference it. Comment sections may bring it back up years from now. In the digital era, controversies rarely disappear completely. For Teyana, the strategic move appears to be containment. Address what needs addressing, avoid feeding speculation further, and continue focusing on work. For Jaguar, continued commentary keeps her positioned as an industry challenger. But the broader cultural fallout is this. Audiences are increasingly skeptical of power. They question institutions faster. They believe silence less. They assume there are layers beneath every headline. That skepticism isn't always grounded in proof, but it's powerful. And it shapes how every future allegation will be received. This moment may fade from trending pages, but the question it raises will remain. When someone claims to expose the industry, how do we separate whistleblowing from weaponized rumor? That's the real tension. After all the viral clips, the emotional responses, the fan wars, and the headline drama, here's the twist. This story may not be about Teyana Taylor or Jaguar Wright at all. It's about credibility. Jaguar Wright has built her recent public identity on exposing what she describes as hidden industry systems. That positioning makes every new statement part of a larger narrative. If even one of her past claims ever becomes verifiably confirmed, her credibility skyrockets. If her claims continue to circulate without proof, skepticism grows. Teyana Taylor represents something different: controlled branding, polished professionalism, and carefully managed public presence. When someone like that reacts strongly to allegations, the reaction itself becomes content. But here's the deeper question. In an era where real industry scandals have been exposed, from exploitation to coercion, how does the public decide which claims deserve attention and which don't? The line between whistleblower and rumor spreader is thin, and often determined by evidence that may never surface publicly. The real twist is this: social media has become the courtroom. No judge, no jury, no verified documentation, just narratives competing for belief. And belief spreads faster than proof. If Jaguar continues speaking and no verifiable evidence emerges, public trust in her will slowly erode. If any part of her broader claims ever aligns with documented truth, her supporters will argue she was right all along. If Teyana continues forward with her career unaffected, some will say it proves the allegations were noise. If any future controversy ever touches similar themes, critics will resurface this moment instantly. That's the cliffhanger. Not a hidden tape, not a sealed indictment, but uncertainty. Because the next explosive claim is always one live stream away. And in today's culture, the battle isn't just over facts. It's over who controls the story. Now I want to hear from you. And I want honesty, not hype. When someone claims to expose Hollywood's hidden secrets, how do you decide whether to believe them? Do you think Jaguar Wright is speaking uncomfortable truths that powerful people don't want exposed? Or do you think bold accusations without proof risk damaging innocent reputations? And when someone like Teyana Taylor responds forcefully, does that feel like protection or deflection? Because this isn't just celebrity gossip anymore. This is about how we process information in 2026. We live in a time where clips go viral before context, allegations trend before evidence, reputations shift before investigations. So where should the line be? Should every explosive claim be amplified? Or should skepticism come first? Drop your thoughts in the comments, not just yes or no, but why. If you believe accountability requires proof, say that. If you believe silence from powerful institutions is suspicious, explain why. And if you want more deep breakdowns that separate allegation from evidence and hype from fact, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned. Because in this era, the real battle isn't just about secrets. It's about who gets believed. And that question is only getting louder.